Good afternoon, AP Government. Thank you guys so much for being here and being on time. Okay. Letting everybody in from the waiting room. While we're waiting to get started, please make sure you have today's class packet pulled up and turn to the Do Now. Please chat 100 once you have the Do Now ready to go. Thank you, Isis, for the urgency. Thank you, Malachi, for the extraness. Thank you, Zira. Thank you, Erica. Okay, 30 more seconds to get yourself set up and located on the Do Now. Okay, looks like most of us are there. Please, as a reminder, please have your videos on with your faces in frame and your microphones off. Please be prepared to share out through warm and cold call. Make sure we continue to use the chat on task. And as a reminder, your exit ticket is due at the end of class and your homework is due next Monday at 8 a.m. So make sure you are working on those key terms throughout the week so that way you don't hate everything on Sunday. Today, we are going to launch into a two-day deep dive into the Democrat and Republican Party. We're going to start that with a quick Do Now describing, which has the policies of liberals and conservatives, and we're going to identify what the liberals and conservatives tend to believe about a variety of things. 5 minutes to complete this classwork. This Do Now, go ahead and get started. 5 minutes on page 1. Just over 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. And then we'll come back together to review. "45 more seconds to finish up, and then we'll come back and review." Get ready to come back together in 10. Great. Let's go ahead and come back together. Looking at the first section of the do now in the chat, liberals are typically associated with which political party? Drop it in. Okay. Awesome. Yes, universally in the chat, Democrats. What about conservatives? Who are they typically? Drop it in the chat.
The Orange Party. Get it?
Awesome. Yes, universally in the chat, we have the Republicans. Okay, get ready to share what you put in your do now. Belief on the scope of the federal government, please go over that, Nyasia. For economic policy, can I hear from Isis? And then social policy, can I hear from Erica? Let's start with Nyasia.
I said the liberals wanted strong and conservatives wanted weak.
Wait, we're looking at federal government. Conservatives want a strong or weak federal government?
Weak.
Weak. Yes, conservatives want a weak federal government. And Democrats want or liberals want a strong federal government. Okay, Isis, for economic policy.
I wasn't really sure, but for the liberal side, I just said there should be interference when it comes to the economy. And then for the conservative side, you can say they want like little interference when it comes to the economy.
Awesome. Everybody make sure you check your answers and make sure they match up with Isis. And Erica, what about social policy?
I said basically the same thing that Isis just said. I said uninvolved and involved. Involved for liberal, uninvolved for conservative.
How did Erica, I want to make sure we're really specific. In terms of liberal, what kind of policies in terms of social do liberals fight for versus what do conservatives fight for?
I'm not sure of specifics, but I know that conservatives are more likely to I mean, liberals are more likely to want interference, like what was it? Judicial resilience or resistance and stuff like that. Yeah, conservatives would not want interference, and liberals would.
Ariana, can you jump in and share what you put in the chat for your conservative social policy?
For conservative, I said they're kind of more like traditional, kind of like whether against like the whole LGBTQ and like same-sex marriage and things like that.
Yes, make sure for conservatives that you have traditional values. They tend to argue for those like traditional Christian values. Okay, today we are going to be doing a deep dive into the Democrat and Republican Party, specifically framed around the question, what values are at the core of each party's platform? We're going to start this by first reading each party's platform. You guys are going to identify if that party's platform is the Republican or the Democrat. One of them is Republican, one of them is Democrat. And then you guys are going to go into breakout rooms and you guys are going to collaborate and try to identify what value or values are at the core of each party's. You're going to collaborate together and then we'll come back for a whole group discourse. So again, first, we're going to read those party platforms. You guys are going to have 7 minutes to do so. And then you will be sent into breakout rooms to collaborate together to determine what those values are. So 7 minutes to read the party platforms, starting on page 2. Nope. Starting on page 3. Make sure you skip to page 3. 7 minutes. Go ahead and get started. 7 minutes. 3.5 more minutes. You should be guessing on who the first platform is. Make sure as you're annotating that you're thinking about our question, what values are at the cores of these parties? What seem to be the things that they are the most passionate about? 2.5 more minutes to finish up. You should be working on the second party platform. One more minute to finish up. What seems to be at the centers of those things? That is time. Let's go ahead and make sure everybody's on the same page. Which party is platform number 1? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Which party is platform number 1? Yes, it's unanimous in the chat. The first platform is the Republicans. And the second platform, obviously, is the Democrats if the first one is the Republicans. So platform number 1, Republican, platform number 2, Democrats. Please now scroll down to page 6 of your class packet, the last page. On this page, you will see the instructions for your breakout rooms. Before we get sent out to our breakout rooms, you guys are going to have 2 minutes to write a hypothesis for your response to the question, what value or values are at the core of each party platforms? You're then going to work with your breakout room. You're each going to share what your hypothesis is, and then come together to work on consensus building and determining the strongest argument. So I'm now going to set a timer. Take 2 minutes. 2 minutes to identify your response in step 1. And then after 2 minutes, I will send you out to your breakout rooms. 2 minutes to identify your response. Go ahead and get started. "30 more seconds to finish identifying the core of each party." Okay. Before I send you out to your breakout rooms, just some timestamps. Each partner is going to have 90 seconds to share their hypothesis. So that should come out to 4.5 minutes of sharing hypotheses. I think that's the plural. And then you are going to spend the next 3.5 minutes collaborating together and making your strongest argument. So you're going to be in your breakout rooms for 8 minutes. I'll be sending timestamps at the head of the breakout rooms, or you can have somebody be in charge of setting time. So whichever you guys would prefer. You're going to have 8 minutes again in your breakout rooms, and then we'll come back together for some whole group discourse. I'll be jumping in and out. I'll be jumping in and out to check to see how discourse is going. Go ahead and head out to your breakout rooms.
Okay.
1 second, you guys.
So basically what I said was the core values for the Democrats is like, I don't know, I just like individual liberty overall, and for the Republicans, that's like the idea of like the traditional old America, you know, like that.
What is the traditional old America?
Like that disgusting, that old just. You know, that the America that was run by a bunch of just, well, white, educated, and men. Yes, men.
I agree. Okay. That's it.
Hello, which one of us is going first? Or do we already share?
I have a
I already shared.
Okay.
I agree with Democrats. I think it's ideal.
Who is going? Who's next?
Yeah, I get it. That's why in mine, I sort of acknowledged how they both have like similar ideas, but they both have this. Cause I had said that both
I'll go since the other one.
across the
I said that the first one had showed basically what the others had said, which was basically
value is a lot.
the Republicans wanted the people to have more of an impact than like the government because they wanted the people to have
What we talking about?
How they both have the same like actual like, they both want to encompass.
Has everybody already shared?
No.
Okay.
Another.
Okay. How many more people do you guys have left?
Ew.
Go ahead. Whoever's next.
Yeah, okay. I said, well.
It's Dwayne and Ariana.
Ariana, but I don't think.
Ariana and Dwayne, if you guys are having issues with Mike, just add your bullet points into the chat.
I think we could
You're muted.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming back. So before we get started in whole group discourse, I want to hear some of the words or the ideas that came out from your discussions. If you had to describe the Democratic Party in one or two words, what would those be? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. How would you describe the Democratic Party? Based off of your own analysis and what you heard from others. Interesting. Can I hear from Ariana? Are you still lagging? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're not? Okay, cool. Can I hear from Ariana and then Isis? You guys are in two different breakout rooms. What did you guys think? Or
Actually,
Current.
Ariana, then Isis, sorry.
no, we were in the same room.
You guys were in the same group. Can I hear from Ariana and then Erica?
I said for the people, I will put Isis. She said inequality. I agree with that. In the text thingy, it says, for one of the quotes, it says, believe there is nothing to fear from the voices and votes of the American people. We will restore the full power of the Voting Rights and Stamp Act. And I feel like all those things was like in favor of like people having power, like citizens and stuff. So I feel like the Democratic Party is more like for like equality, unity, for things that's in the chat. And he's just overall for the people and citizens.
I agree. I think it's all about change. The Democratic Party is all about noticing and correcting past flaws, while the Republican Party is more don't ask, don't tell.
I mean, that's definitely a very interesting perspective that has a lot of merits. Okay, now in the chat, think of 1 to 2 words that describe the Republican Party. Please use as neutral of terms as possible. Because this is supposed to be a constructive, productive conversation, not just complaining. Okay. Thank you, Nyasha, for starting us off. Thank you, Isis. Ooh, really good word, Erica. Okay, make sure I'm hearing from everybody that was in those groups. I'm seeing the same names pop up. Can I hear from Isis and then Yamani? Isis, then Yamani.
I said that they're very traditional and old-fashioned because, like everybody was saying, they are more like, I want to say they want to continue the old laws and stuff like that onto the new generation. They want to basically focus on more, so how you put it, conservative ideas.
I agree. I also said that they're like very traditional in a sense that like same with what Isis said, like they don't want to like change and like adapt to like the new ideas that are popping up, like the Democrats.
What are some of the positive merits of the Democratic Party? We're going to go into the hypocrisy of both parties next week. What are some positive merits of the Democratic Party? Go ahead and drop them in the chat. Nyasha, I like some of the things that you shared. Can you build on those in discourse? Can you unmute and share?
I said that the Democratic, right? They were diverse, educated, and accepting. I said diverse because like the second sentence that they mentioned, it was like, we appreciate the diversity of America, and then later on it went on to say how they wanted everybody to be accepted regardless of like your sexuality and like your ethnicity. And then I said educated because they believe in climate change and they want to do things to fix that. And then also they want people to have a college education without having to worry about the debt that they will accumulate for achieving it.
Now we're going to do the same thing. What about Republicans? What are some merits to the Republican Party? Why would somebody opt to be a Republican? Isis, can you unmute and build on what you shared in the chat?
When it comes to like money, Republicans know, like when they think about it, they try to figure out like how they're gonna get the money and how they're gonna like spend it. But when it comes to like demos, they just think we need money for this and we need money for that, but they never think where is that money gonna come from.
There's a reason why wealthy people tend to be Republicans. And we may not agree with their fiscal policies, but there are some merits to their fiscal policies. Nyasha, can you build on what you mean by pride?
The Republicans are very like proud that they're Americans. Like it said, we believe in American exceptionalism. We believe the United States of America is unlike any other nation on earth. Like they are very they're patriots when it comes to like honoring their country. And then like a lot of platform one included things about the Declaration of Independence, showing that like they honored like the foundation that the country was founded on and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are absolutely believers in American exceptionalism. You may not agree with American exceptionalism, but they absolutely believe it. Okay. As I said, tomorrow we are going to be doing a further zoom in through a lecture on political parties. So we're going to spend more time analyzing the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And if we have time, we're actually going to check out and see the Democratic Party's changing perspective on the war on drugs. Super interesting stuff. And then next week, we are going to be zooming in onto the potential hypocrisies of these parties. A lot of what they argue for in their platforms, maybe not, maybe not. Maybe that's not actually what is happening. So go ahead and transition to your exit ticket. Awesome job today. This is going to be graded, so please make sure you are writing that full claim, explain, connect paragraph. Once you submit your paragraph and turn in your class packet, you will be out free to go.